So my GNC Pro Box came in the mail this week. It didn't include anything spectacular. It had a couple of GNC sample items in it and also a HelloFresh gift card. It also came with a little coupon book that said on the front page, "Slim well this fall." And that got me thinking that, holy crap, it's already the end of summer. And though I've spent a lot of time outside running, I've really just ran at the same park pretty much every day for the past 4 or 5 months. So I decided that tomorrow that I'm going to challenge myself to run someplace new. A place where I've never ran before, and a place where the people that are there I don't see every day, and also a place that isn't just 1 minute away from where I live. And since Saturdays are my long run days, I figured, why not split up my long run into multiple shorter runs and run at multiple different places? So tomorrow I'm going to run at 5 different parks. And at each of the parks, I'm going to run a 5K. And to challenge myself even more, I'm going to try to complete all the runs in 5 hours. I'm sticking with 5s because in my GNC Pro Box, they gave me $5 off. So obviously I could go to a bunch of local parks and get done with the runs pretty quickly. But to make it more challenging, I'm actually going to go expand further around the Pittsburgh area. So I did a quick Google search and found 5 very interesting parks in the Pittsburgh area to visit that I've never ran at before. And now I got them all mapped out. I got my day all planned out. And I'm going to go eat dinner and get some rest because tomorrow, like always, I'm waking up at 5:30. So it's 6:57 and I'm at my first park of the day, which is Indian Lake Park in North Huntington Township. So my roommate visits this park all the time. I've personally never been here, but according to him, it's about a mile lap around the lake, though it looks a bit shorter. So I'm going to say it's probably going to be a bit over 3 laps to get my 5K in. It's actually pretty cold this morning. It's the first time it's been in the 30s since before summer started. And typically I'll start running around 5:30 every day, but today I wanted to wait till it's light out. Usually when I run now, it's a pitch black until about 6:30, so I wanted to give it time to get some sunlight out. But my official time to start my 5-hour window is going to be 7 a.m., and that means the end time is going to be 12 p.m. So let's start the clock. So it's 7:28, and my first 5K is completed. Each lap was only about a half a mile, so I only had to do 6 laps. A little different than what I thought my friend told me, which was about a mile per lap, but maybe he did mean a half mile per lap. So on to my second park. Well, that's not going to be enough. So it's 8:06, and I'm at my second park of the day, which is Frick Park in Pittsburgh. I had to stop and get gas, but other than that, this day seems like it's going to be pretty easy to get all 5 runs in by 12 p.m. So I've personally never been to Frick Park, but I hear a lot about it. It's probably one of the most popular parks in the Pittsburgh area. I'm not actually sure what route to run or where to run, but there seems to be a lot of trails, so I'll just start on one and run till I get to 3.1 miles. Let's go. So it's 8:38. Second run done. There was actually a group of runners that were already running down a trail, so I just followed them. We ran on the Tranquility Trail. It was a pretty straightforward trail. You know, I ran 1.5 miles down, 1.5 miles back. Overall, it was a nice trail. I ran a bit slower than I usually do just so I could take in the scenery, and I wasn't disappointed. There's quite a few trails that I'd like to try, so maybe I'll come back. I'm more of a road runner than a trail runner, but honestly, sometimes trail running is just needed to give yourself some needed rest and recovery. On to park number 3. So it's 8:52. And I'm at my third park for the day, which is Schenley Park in Pittsburgh. So not too far of a drive from my last park. Schenley Park I've actually been to before, and it's one of the more popular parks in Pittsburgh. You get a really good view of the city from up by the ice skating rink. I've personally never ran at this park. Usually if I come and use their disc golf course, which is really nice if you're into disc golf. But it is a nice park, and I see people running here all the time, so might as well give it a try. So it's 9:25, and park number 3 done. I actually made a pretty big mistake. I parked at the top of the hill, and the reason I parked up here is because I'm familiar. I've been up here before, but that made the first part of my run downhill, and then the last part of my run uphill, which was a huge mistake. So I'm more than halfway to my goal, with just under 2.5 hours to go, and just 2 more 5Ks to run at 2 different parks. I'm going to quickly fuel up with some cluster dextrin, 8 ounces of water, fast digesting carbs just to give me an energy. I don't plan on eating anything till I'm done with my last 2 runs, so this should keep me fueled up with some energy until I complete those. I keep looking for something I can't get. Broken hearts lie all around me, and I don't see an easy way to get out of this. The diary sits on the bedside table. The curtains are closed. The cat's in the cradle. Who would have thought that a boy like me could come to this? Honestly, the most time-consuming part about this challenge, if you want to call it that, or just today, is driving from park to park. I mean, I'm running these 5Ks in under 25 minutes each, so that's not taking too much time. So 5 hours is sufficient enough time to do the runs, but it's the driving that's really the time-consuming part. I just died in your arms tonight. It must have been something you said. So it's just before 10 o'clock, and I'm at my 4th park of the day, which is Boyce Mayview Park in Upper St. Clair. So this place looks nice. It's actually more than a park. It's actually a giant rec center with, looks like a swimming pool, some athletic fields. Looks like a pretty hoppin' place. Just gonna try to find a good place to run at. I did see a trail that circles around pretty much the whole park. I'm not sure how long it is. I'm hoping it's a pretty decent distance. That way I'm not doing multiple laps and really freaking all the people here out. So run number 4, here we go. So it's just about 10:30 and 4 runs down, 4 5Ks done, 1 more to go, 1 more park to visit. I really had no idea where I was going. There's a lot of pathways, a lot of trails looking areas, but I kept hitting a bunch of dead ends and kept having to turn around. Sort of just had to, wing it and getting the 3.1 miles in. I did see some dirt trails. There's also some road, paved walkways that you could run on, and one paved walkway that pretty much circumvents the whole area. But that wasn't going to be nearly enough to get in the 3.1 miles, so I had to sort of just make my own path. Overall, it's a real nice place, though. There's a lot of courts, a lot of fields, just a lot of areas for activities. So I got about an hour and a half to get to my next park and run my last 5K, so that should give me plenty of time. Out on the road today, I saw a black flag sticker on a Cadillac. A little voice inside my head said, "Don't look back, you can never look back." I thought I knew what love was, what did I know? These days are gone forever, I should just let them go, but so it's 11:07, and I'm finally at my last park, which is Washington Park in Washington, PA. Now, this is a pretty far drive for me, and there's a reason I drove all the way out here, which we'll get to later. But this park looks similar to White Oak Park, and it has, just a main road that runs through it with a bunch of pavilions. So I should be able to get my 5K in relatively easy, and I got under an hour to do it, but plenty of time. So time to finish off strong. So it's 11:38, and with 22 minutes to spare, mission accomplished. As I said before, it's fairly easy to run the 5Ks in 5 hours. I mean, that's only 15 miles. If I just ran 15 miles straight, I'd probably get it done in around 2 hours. So 5 hours was pretty generous, but Washington, especially this last park, is a real long drive away. So mainly the driving time is what makes me finish, with only 22 minutes to spare. And it honestly was a bit harder than I thought, especially during the last 2 runs I had. My legs were just giving out, and You know, I typically don't run under an 8-minute mile, but you know, just to take in the scenery, I didn't know where I was going, and the fact that I was tired really slowed down my last 2 runs. But I'm done now, and I'm really happy because I'm honestly really hungry, and it's about lunchtime, so let's go get something to eat. So this is the reason I drove all the way out to Washington. So this is the closest Krispy Kreme to where I live. The only other one is in Erie, PA, I do believe. But not too many around, so to come out here is a long trip, so you have to find a good reason to make your way out here, but I'm definitely glad I did. Now, every time my roommate comes out here, he loves Krispy Kreme donuts, so he'll get Krispy Kreme donuts, and he'll bring them home, and he always offers me some extra because he gets a dozen, and he doesn't want to eat the whole dozen, so he says, you can have some, but I never take him up on that offer. But then I saw an ad on Instagram for their pumpkin flavored donuts, and I just got a really strong craving, and I just really wanted some pumpkin donuts, so I got a assorted dozen with some pumpkin donuts and also just some of the classic favorites as well. So starting off with just the original pumpkin spice glazed. That's really good. So for the second one, I have a pumpkin spice glazed, but it has cheesecake filling. So this should be really good. And it is. So next up, we got the pumpkin spice cake donut. I'm not typically a fan of cake donuts over regular donuts, but you know, this does look really good. And I love anything pumpkin spice. Not as good as the original glazed, or the original pumpkin spice glaze, but still really good. So the last of the pumpkin donuts is the pumpkin spice cinnamon roll. And honestly, this looks the best out of all of them. It got cinnamon sprinkled on it and some, I guess, cheesecake and cinnamon sauce on it. It looks really good. So Krispy Kreme only has 4 pumpkin flavored donuts, and I just finished all 4. So it's time to move on to the regular donuts. But before that, just wanted to talk about nutrition. Now it may be weird to hear nutritional advice from somebody who's sitting there eating a dozen donuts, but honestly, I'm not going to eat the whole dozen, of course. But my philosophy has always been there's no bad foods. I mean, there's some that are unhealthier for weight loss. So obviously you want to stick to lower calorie food, lower fattening foods, and donuts aren't really one of those. But if you want a donut every once in a while, have a donut. But you just got to understand the nutritional content of a donut and, you know, what you need to do to set yourself up where you don't feel guilty for eating a donut. So typically if you go to Dunkin' Donuts or Krispy Kreme or just your local bakery, just the regular original glazed donut is about 200 calories. And then if you move up to the specialty donuts where they have the icing, the sprinkles, the fillings, then you're looking at anywhere from 300 to 350 calories per donut. So if you're looking to burn off the donuts by running or any other form of cardio, but let's just use running as an example since I just ran a bunch. If you go by the 100 calories per mile, you know, average, then you're looking at about 3 miles, say 300 calorie, assuming a 300 calorie donut. You know, run 3 miles to burn off 1 donut. So 3 miles or 1 5K. I ran 5 5Ks, so you would think 5 donuts is my limit, but I'm actually going to do 6, and that's just based on the fact that, well, 15.5 miles I actually burned a little bit more than 100 calories per mile, just based on my speed and obviously other factors. So I'm going to have 6. But even still, that's 1,800 calories. So if you're not moving at all, 1,800 calories is pretty much your full day's diet. So if you eat regular meals and then you eat 6 donuts, then you're looking at gaining some weight. Me, on the other hand, if I eat 6 donuts, I'm probably still going to be in the green and be in a deficit by the end of the day. So I could eat 6 or even 7 donuts at this point, but I'm probably going to save a couple for my roommate just because he always brings some home for me, so now I feel obligated to bring some home for him. Honestly, it was funny. So I saw a Facebook ad for the Thanksgiving 5K and 10K, and it was sort of advertising, you know, you got to burn off before you eat a big meal, you know, so burn off a bunch of calories. And I said to myself, well, 5K, that's not nearly going to be enough calories for the amount of food that I want to eat on Thanksgiving. Even a 10K, typically on Thanksgiving or Christmas, I'll spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours in the morning running and or doing some other form of cardio, just burning off. That way I could eat the big meal I want and still not have, you know, the excess calories. Now, don't get me wrong, you don't have to do cardio to eat this. You don't have to do cardio to have a big meal on Thanksgiving. You don't have to run 20 miles. Run what you want, do the cardio you want, but just understand there's consequences. And, you know, at this point, I can eat 7 donuts and still be in a deficit, and, you know, that's my goal. And, you know, I'm always going to live by that philosophy. The more I want to eat, the more I'll move. If I really get a craving for something that really high calorie or just eating a big meal in general, you know, I'll try to set myself up where I'll burn off those excess calories either before or after. Chocolate glazed with sprinkles, my favorite donut. And for my 6th and last donut, the strawberry ice with sprinkles. So I'm going to eat a 7th donut because according to Garmin, I burned about 1,900 calories running. That might be a little off, whether it's high, whether it's low, I don't really care. And plus the donuts are only about 250 to 275 each. So to 7's about 1,900 calories. So I'll eat a 7th donut, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So, last donut of the day, I'm going with the chocolate cream filled. So only 5 donuts remain. Honestly, I'm hungry enough that I could have ate the full dozen, and I would still have the, you know, macro count to finish eating the dozen and still be in a caloric deficit for the day, but it would pretty much take up my entire calorie intake for the day, so I wouldn't be able to eat the rest of the day, which that wouldn't be fun. So I'll cut myself off at 7 donuts. And I've seen people, you know, on YouTube or just in general eat a dozen donuts, and that's fine for them, but you gotta have your limitations. So 7's good for me. I satisfied my craving for the donuts, and you know, honestly, it was totally worth it. And since that was technically my lunch, and I try to have at least 20 grams of protein per meal, donuts aren't really a good protein source. You know, really high carb, really high in fats, but not really good at protein, not a good protein source. So so I brought a protein shake, and that's going to be the last thing I have for lunch. So even after running all those miles, I still feel a little guilty for eating 7 donuts, and honestly I feel a little full and heavy in my stomach. So I saw a Sam's Club just down the road, so I'm just going to do a quick walk and shop, just to help with digestion a little bit and also to burn off even more calories. This video has been sponsored by my channel. Please like and subscribe.